Yo, it's your boy Samurai Jack, and I am here with a Charge Blade guide. Now, I'm not that great at Charge Blade, but I am going to share the skills that I have picked up and learned while using Charge Blade and everything. So, might be a little few things I have questions about, but I will try to answer everything to the best of my ability and explain everything I can about Charge Blade. Okay, so first things first is your basic combos with Charge Blade. And ain't nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy with Charge Blade. You just have some basic combos just to help you get through the fight. Now, I will be referring to the face buttons again in FGC terms. So I will referring to the face buttons as 1, 2, 3, and 4. I will have them up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about, so you won't be confused when I refer to the buttons as 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm gonna keep saying and switching around the face buttons on the controller. All right, so first things first is your 2-button combo, which is just a basic 3-hit combo, which is just boop, boop, boop. That is your basic 3-hit combo. Now you can follow up with, or you can also do 2, 2, 2, hold 4, and then you have that combo there. All right, and that's really it for basic combos. You just have those 2 basic combos. Now you do have this combo here. Well, I messed up. You have your 2 and your 4 together. You can do that, which you do 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4 3 times, and then you press RT. Or you can do 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, and just let it go. You just do that 3 times. Or you can do that, well, do this, this, into this, which is your 4, 4, RT plus 4, and then another 4, which charges your shield, which is a really great caveat about charging. So you need to, you can charge your shield, which is this right here, this little cute thingy right here. You can charge your shield, and you can also charge your sword after your shield is charged, which you would need files for, which we'll get to in just a bit. So charging your shield, you do require a file, so you get to do your combos that I just showed you. So one combo you can do is the shield elemental boost combo, which is just holding 4, letting go, charging your shield, and then I messed up. So hold 4, let go, charge your shield, and then continue to hold B after you charge your shield, and that will give you the shield elemental boost, which will use those files that you have stored and put them inside your shield. I blanked out just there. But but you can also do your basic combo here and do this of doing your 2, 2, 2 plus holding down your 4 and letting that go. Now, when I say let it go, I mean when you do your charge, if you hold it for too long, you will do a charge rising slash. If you hold it when it does that full lock animation right here, once you see this lock animation, let it go and you do a charge double slash. So you don't ever want to overhold your charge buttons at all with Charge Blade, because if you overhold it, it'll just not do what you really intended to do, and you'll kind of get punished. You might get punished for it if you don't do it correctly. If you miss timing and everything, you might get punished for it. So just when you see a lock animation, just let it go, and that will give you what you are looking for. Now you can, like I was saying earlier, you can charge your shield as well. Not charge your shield. You can charge your sword as well. So what you basically do is like you're charging. It's like you're charging your shield, well, storing your files into your shield, which is this, and then you hold 2. And once you see that lock animation, don't do what I just did because I overheld it. We got a return stroke. You do that, you hold that. As soon as you see that lock animation there, you let go, and you have the condensed elemental slash, which basically you have your condensed sword. And what that does is it does an extra explosion damage. And depending on what you have for Phial Types, which again I will get to in just a bit, depending on what you have for Phial Types, it'll do different types of damage. Now, having this is really helpful for doing extra damage because you have that extra little tick damage. And you see here, I just knocked out the monster, which I will get to in just a bit about what just happened there. But it's really great if you don't want to be in axe mode, which I will get to a little bit later as well. So if you don't be in axe mode, and depending on what's going on, you want to move around faster, because being in sword mode is faster. Being in axe mode is a lot slower moving around, but they have two different damage outputs between the modes, but I'll get to that in just a bit. So I was mentioning Phials, and you saw how I stunned the monster and knocked the monster out not too long ago. So you have two different Phial types. You have impact Phials, which does knockout damage. It is basically your raw damage there, so it does knockout damage, and is really great. Honestly, I enjoy impact Phials along with I enjoy elemental Phials, which this is an elemental Phial. Elemental Phials does exactly what the name entails. It does elemental damage. If the monster has a great elemental hit zones, it's really useful there. But if they have terrible elemental hit zones, it won't be as good. One monster I can think of off the top of my head is Narcilla. She's weak to fire and thunder. Now the caveat with thunder is the fact that her rubbery hide has to be broken. Pojaceros, she was using his skin, but you have to break her hide, that rubbery hide first, to actually get like a good amount of thunder damage from that. Because if you hit her and some of the actual small elements of procs that you saw earlier, that was the little extra proc damage, it'll proc as a 0. If you get a perfect block while your shield is charged, depending on where it hits her at, you'll see a great number, it'll be a 0 if her hide is still intact. If the hide is not broken, you will see a 0. There are other certain monsters where if they're not really if the elemental damage doesn't really affect them that much, it'll just be a 0. Like, this is the only game where I've just seen numbers to straight up be it does no damage. Like, it hit them, it proc, but it just did a literal 0 damage. That's really it about the Phial types. It's only 2 Phial types. You don't have elemental Phials, impact Phials. Two totally different functions. I'd prefer impact Phials and wilds. Now in Rise, elemental Phials was king because you could do so much damage. You can make do a particular build just to make that damage monstrous. It did so much damage. I've seen people do 500 plus damage on SAED, and it was like, I can't do that. My brain wasn't clicking on how to do that. But that carries out into the importance of Phials. Phials are extremely important and pivotal to Charged Blade's gameplay. If you do not have your Phials charged, you are locking up a lot of your damage. Or if not utilizing your Phials, you'll lock up a lot of your damage. Also, another pivotal portion of your entire gameplay around Charged Blade is not your sword. Your sword helps you out a lot because it is what causes you to charge your Phials, but it's really your shield. Your shield is what allows you to even utilize everything about Charged Blade, except for Savage Axe mode, which we'll get to in a bit. But having your shield charged, having your shield charged does unlock another portion of Savage Axe mode as well. But again, we'll get to that in just a bit. So having your shield charged will allow you to charge your shield. If I didn't have any, let me explain my Phials really quick. Okay, I have expended my files. All right, so I try to charge my shield. I have no files. As you see, I'm charging, quote unquote, I am charging my sword. And you see how when I did the condensed elemental slash, nothing came out. There was no animation, there was no sparking animations. The sword did not come out glowing, looking really pretty and beautiful with the extra damage. And as you can tell in the left hand corner, it's also not charged. That's how you can tell if it's charged or not by the left hand corner. You will see it turn a different color. That's because I have no files. My shield is not charged. I can't do anything at all. When I morph into axe mode, I'm doing elemental discharge. My elemental discharge combos, and nothing is. I'm gonna roll it actually. Nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. And because I have nothing in there. That's what I mean by it is important to have your files charged, because it affects your modes that you do. Now, talking about modes, you have technically 3 modes. It's technically 3 modes. You have sword mode, which is this is sword mode, and then you morph into axe mode. This is axe mode, and then you have one more that has a particular condition that 2 conditions to unlock it. Well, not 2 conditions. You have 2 different conditions to unlock it. Well, first condition is either to game controller. So your first one of the conditions is either you do a wound finisher on the monster and that can activate Savage X mode, or you get a perfect block and you counter with your 2 and that will also activate Savage X mode, which I can show you right now. Big boy Luke. Okay, so about to generate a wound. Charge. We'll store my files. Ooh. Oh, that's another thing I have to caveat too really quick after I show y'all this right here. So, do your wound finisher, and you see how the axe mode in the left hand corner activated. I am now in Savage X mode. I'm still in axe mode technically, but the reason why we call it Savage X mode is because you have pixel cutter and your shield actually spins on your sword and you do all this right here. While if it was in regular axe mode, I wouldn't be doing this extra prop damage, and you won't hear this particular sound of me cutting through the monster. And then you can hear the actual shield spinning around, and you can see it as well. It's spinning around. That's why it's called Savage X mode. Now, there is a quick caveat, like I was saying earlier, there's a quick caveat. So, I forgot to mention really quick that you can overcharge your sword. So, to charge your files, you have to charge your sword. So the yellow here is your first level of charge. That will give you 3 files. Then, let me expand these actually, so you can continue to see what I'm talking about. Okay, oh, I was trying to do something, and that's what I mean by it is important to have your shield charged. I attempted to do a SAED, which is a super elemental discharge. However, my shield was not charged, so I could not do that move there because it's locked behind my shield actually being charged. And that's what I mean by everything revolves around your shield being charged. Without your shield being charged, you can't do everything that you want to do with your shield. So let me, that can go out actually. Okay, so my shield is charged. I have no files, which is cool. All right, so you have yellow. So yellow is charge level 1. It's yellow charge. Well, your sword going yellow, which you also see on top of your files. That is the level 1 charge on your sword, which you store to your file. With sword to your Phials, you give me 3 Phials. Now, the next one is your red. Now, your red, your sword is glowing red. That equates 5 Phials. You do that, you store, and you can see I added 2 Phials on the empty Phials, and I added 3 more Phials on the ones that's already been filled. Now they're overfilled, well, not overfilled, they have a second level of charge basically on the Phials, which is a new mechanic in WoWs in itself. Now there's one more quote unquote charge level, but it's not really a charge level. It's still the red glow on your sword, but however, it's technically an overcharged state. It's like greatsword, when you overcharge greatsword and you do less damage. It's kind of the same here with charge blade. So instead of doing like really less damage, 2 things happen. You can see how my sword, it's glowing this really dark red, well, I don't say dark red, but it's a darker red slash on like it's burning and melting away. That's because it's overcharged, and you can also tell by the Phials, because the Phials are a darker red color. That's not a good thing. That is a terrible thing, because if you also notice, my sharpness gauge is also glowing red. So you don't ever want to overcharge your sword. You never want to overcharge your sword at all, because that does a lot of things to you. One, you will bounce. You will just bounce. You will bounce off a monster every single time. Any of you. Okay, I did not do that, but okay. But like I said, you will bounce off a monster. You will continue to bounce, and while you're bouncing, you will continue no matter what you do. Now, a caveat to that is you can just morph into Axe mode to completely ignore the fact that your sword is overcharged. But if you don't have Savage Axe mode, you don't really want to be in regular Axe mode at all. Like, at all. You don't want to be in regular Axe mode. There's no point in being in regular Axe mode. Once you activate Savage Axe mode, then yes, switch over to Axe mode. That's what you really want. But regular Axe mode, no, don't want to be there. But once you morph back into sword mode, that overcharge is still there. It's not going away until you actually charge your Phials. Charge your Phials. So make sure you always, no matter if you aren't using those Phials right away, always, once you see red, not the dark red, once you see regular red on your sword or on your Phials, store your charges away into your Phials. That is to help prevent you from eating up your sharpness and you bouncing off the monster. As you can tell, I'm getting white numbers. Well, just a moment ago, I was getting yellow numbers. I'm still doing the same damage, but it's the fact that I am bouncing off the monster and I'm eating up my sharpness is a bad thing. And not only that, you could be sitting here cooking a monster up and next thing you know, you just bounce randomly. But I will say there are some moments, and it's rare, there are some moments where you won't bounce off the monster at all. You will still go through the monster while your sword is overcharged. Now, do not let that fool you, because your sword sharpness is still in danger for you doing that. So just always make it a habit to keep your charges inside your Phials. So your sword is red, hell, even yellow, just charge your sword, well, charge your Phials up, and that's completely fine, because in the day it's still the end product at the end of the day. Reason why some people wait, I like to wait, is because you get, it might as well just wait instead of just doing the yellow, unless you just trying to hurry and get something into your sword and everything. That's understandable. Or if you're doing a certain combo into it and it just happens, it just happens. But might as well just wait until you get to the red and then just do that. Now, this is more about the Phials in itself, because I said there's a new mechanic when it comes to the Phials. So used to, you will only get one full level of Phial charges, which is just the regular white charges, and not the second level charges where your Phials glow yellow. That's a new mechanic in WoWs in itself. So what I've noticed with the second level of charge is when you charge your shield with it, when you have 2 levels of Phial charge, your shield being charged lasts a lot longer. I'm not for sure the specifics on time, as I haven't actually timed to see how long it lasts, but it lasts about, I say about 2 to 4 minutes, somewhere in that range. About 2 to 4 minutes before it goes away. I typically keep my shield charged, so I don't really have the specifics on the time in itself. I have to time it later, and I'll probably drop in the description how long it lasts. We'll see, or I might time it and just edit into the video, let you know how long it actually lasts. But that is it's a new mechanic, so it is really great for your shield, because once you charge your shield, it's in there, and then that also this lets you be in sword mode longer. Well, not sword mode. You have a charge shield longer, and you can do all your actual damage boosting things, like i.e. charging your sword. You can do that. You can charge your sword. You can also come over here you can go into Savage X mode, and you can actually do a SAED or SAED, which I'm about to show you in a bit. That's another one of your combos, but you do your 2 and your 4. After you do 2 and 4 again, and you do Super Amp Elements of Discharge. And what that does, it releases out of this blast of energy. It expends all of your Phials, but it does damage. It does extra damage onto the monster, and if you have an impact Phial, it will do that stun damage. If you hit their head, it will do that stun damage and knock them out. Even this regular right here will still knock them out anyway, as long as you have your sword charged. Even, well, if you have your Phials, so if you have your Phials while you're in Savage X mode, it will also do extra damage, or the extra little proc explosions, like this. It'll still do extra proc damage there. Now, if you do, this is the thing, you have to be doing your elemental discharge combo, which is, if you do the 4 twice, you don't expend any of your actual Phials. But if you do 4 again, and do your follow-up 4, the last 2 moves at the end of your 4 combo actually expends 1 gauge of Phial. Now, if you remember earlier when I was not in Savage X mode at all, and I was in regular X mode, when I was doing that combo, I'll actually snip that in or keep that in. I expended 1 whole Phial every time I did an elemental discharge. So Savage X mode has its perks. Your Phials last longer in Savage X mode, while if you're not in Savage X mode, they get expended a lot quicker. So you having your Phials there was really beneficial, and that's something that Capcom, I would say Capcom encouraged for us to be in Savage X mode and actually using our pizza cutter mode a lot longer, so we won't sit here as soon as we get our Phials built up, we won't just SAED right away, which is Super Elemental Discharge. So you won't do that right away and just expend all your Phials and get that damage there. They actually wanted to incentivize us more by using our Savage X mode a lot more, which I always enjoy Savage X mode because it's just fun using a pizza cutter and slapping a monster across their face and cutting their tail off with pizza cutter mode. That's always been fun. But I think I guess it was made for the people who played Rise and everything. Their probably first game was probably Rise, i.e. me. Even then, I still like using pizza cutter mode more than actually SAEDing. They put a lot of damage. I said they put a lot of damage into SAED, especially for on the elemental side. Impact side, the impact side got left behind. Impact was just, it wasn't useless, but it was a humongous damage fall off using impact files. You still get your knockout damage, yes, and everything, but it wasn't big unga boonga damage numbers from actually using SAED. Now with SAEDs, you can still whiff with SAEDs. You can aim. What I mean by aim, you can still aim using a SAED. Let me not pop a wound, but let me go back into Savage Axe mode so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're in Savage Axe mode. I just bounced. Jesus Christ. Okay, so I'm gonna go into Axe mode. I'm completely got my back turned towards the dummy. So we do this, and then we do this. Focus mode really helps a lot. Focus mode helps so much when it comes to aiming, so you will have a less likely chance of whiffing your attacks. Beforehand, if you just so happen to say at the wrong moment, especially in the older titles, you will completely whiff a SAED every single time. If you were out of position, you will miss those every single time. And I'm not playing. I mean, you will literally just miss them because you can't aim. Once you are in that action, you are committed to the action wherever you're facing. You might get a little wiggle room of adjustment, and you gonna see what I mean. I'm not in focus mode, and I could not move my character at all. But while I was in focus mode, I could move my character around, and I could actually go almost a complete 180 and hit the monster with my SAED. Now, there are going to be some instances where the monster just swiggles and diggles out the way. That's going to happen. There are going to be some instances where you forget to actually be in focus mode and swerve around to hit the monster. It's going to happen. Especially if you don't use focus mode a lot. I notice I myself stay in focus mode a lot, mainly because I use bow a lot. That's the main reason why my brain is always like, oh, focus mode, focus mode, focus mode. And it's just like a habit now to be in focus mode no matter what. I'm trying to break that sometimes because it's like I need to be out of that, but I'm just used to doing that myself. But people who aren't used to doing that, if you're going to use a SAED, try your best to make it a habit, because like I said, now I'm gonna still whiff because I did it too late. That's why I mean, you can still whiff your SAED, because if you start turning too late, once they hit a certain point in the animation of them about to slam down their weapon on the ground to do the actual SAED portion, you can whiff. You have to start turning early to get around to where that monster's at. If they move out the way of you actually initiating the combo, if you can turn fast enough, you might get them, or you might clip them one time. But overall, just try to use focus mode and try to time your SAEDs as best as you can, because it hurts when you whiff. It really hurts. It really bad when you whiff on those. But that's really it on the portions of just talking about the different modes, your files, the importance of your files and everything. I would say the one thing I want to see really quickly with y'all as well is to see if there's a damage difference with me, or if it's not. Do this, do this. You keep your shield charged to be able to do your combos and everything, because I see I have to keep charging my shield to go back into trying to do what I want to actually do with my sword. So now we have one level charge. Oh, I didn't show y'all the second portion of actually getting the... Okay, that did 37.5. So now... The good thing about that little combo right there, so if you do a charge hit into this, into the roundhouse slash, you can literally loop that combo. You can honestly loop that combo until you get your charges. And the reason why it's preferred to do the charge double slash is because that gives you the largest amount of charge for your sword, so you can quickly get into doing or charging your Phials. That's really why it's a lot more preferred. Okay, do this. And boop. Okay, so I thought I wasn't tripping about that. So you couldn't really see all the damage on it because it hit certain bad spots on the monster. Let me sharpen my weapon. So with one level of charge on your Phials, which is just this is level 1 of Phial charges. You do around about 35 damage, 35.7 damage per tick. With a full charge, you do about 45.7 damage per tick, which is the second level of charge on your Phials. So when you expend those, it does that extra damage there. So there's a damage boost for having extra charges or extra Phial charge, and then it also helps extend the charge mode for your shield. So that's a great thing right there. Now, on to the recommended skills for Charge Blade in itself. All right, so my personal preference for skills will always be, if I can remember how to get to it, will always be artillery, which I can see here, artillery strengthens explosive attacks like shells, wyvern fire, charge blade Phial attacks, and sticky ammo. And I always go for level 3, which will greatly increase each attack and wyvern fire's firing speed, shelling fire attack plus 90. It just increases the damage of your Phial attacks. I just automatically go for 3 because let's go for big damage, big numbers and everything, because it does really actually boost the amount of damage your Phials do by a lot. Now, the other skill which I feel is mandatory for Charge Blade will be load shells, aka magazine. Load shells improves reloading and increases the gun length, shell capacity, and Charge Blade's Phial capacity. And you always want to go for level 2 because it increases shell / filing reload speed, gun length, load capacity plus by 1, and charge blade charge Phials charges 5 Phials on yellow gauge. That's what I mean by you have when your sword is yellow, you can automatically get a full 5 Phials. Once you're in red, you get a full 10 Phials in total, which I will show you in a bit. Now, other skills that's pretty useful, I would definitely say, would be nice to have, especially if you are a guarded person. Offensive guard is really nice because if you get a perfect block, which perfect blocks are really great. Perfect blocks and or guard points, which we get to guard points in a bit. You got perfect blocks, which will give you that damage boost there. You get your guard points, which also should act as a perfect block. And then you also get damage boost there, and you can do more damage. Another skill that is pretty nice to have, but you don't really need it, is a rapid morph. Rapid morph just increases the morphing speed between for both switch axe and charge blade. Just increases the morphing speed. I would say it's a lot more useful on switch axe because you have to morph a lot between the modes. But for charge blade, I would say it's only more beneficial, in my opinion. It's only more beneficial if you're looking for guard points, especially when you're morphing, because when you morph, you get guard points there, which again, I will show you what I mean about guard points in a bit. So you won't keep questioning, what is a guard point? And it does do extra damage when you do morph attacks and everything, but you have more morph attacks with switch axe than you do charge blade, because most of the time you just morph. I know you do have a draw morph from when you're whipping the sheath. You just press RT or R2, you can do a morph attack immediately. So it draws the weapon and it draws the weapon out in axe mode, and that's technically a morph attack right there. So you have that extra damage there. But your morphing speed for Charge Blade is not super important at all. As outside of those small little extra moments of you wanting to get a guard point from morphing between sword mode and axe mode. Outside of that, there's not too many other skills outside of, you know, attack boosts and things like that will be attack boosts, critical boosts, you know, your skills that boosts your damage overall and everything. Outside of that, there's not too many skills I would say that's super important. You could throw on if you're not really comfortable, or you're not comfortable getting perfect guards or perfect blocks. You could throw on Iron Wall. If I could find it. Well, guard up. Well, guard. If you feel spicy, you want blocks on my blocker, was guard up. But guard, you can also throw that on as well. But you don't really and truly need that, especially if you do perfect blocks. I would say throw on guard if you want to reduce the impacts of certain attacks, because certain attacks are still stronger than other attacks. Even if you do perfect block them, you still will get some type of knockback effect from them. If you do happen to miss a block at all, well, not miss a block, if you miss time a block and you just get a regular block instead of a perfect block, guard is there for you, so that can at least reduce the impact damage you receive from that. But outside of that, just aim for perfect blocks all the time and you're golden, because you can counter into SAEDs and everything. And you know what, speaking of countering, let me quickly show y'all what I mean by countering with Charge Blade. Okay, so I don't like using training dummy too much for the countering aspect of it and everything, because I don't have the timer down for the dummy. But as you can tell, I just got clucked. Come on. I clucked in. I'm better at blocking and countering in practical combat, but that's what I mean by countering. You see, got a guard, perfect guard, into Savage Axe Slash. That's another way to activate Savage Axe mode. Now, if my shield is charged and I perfect block, you see that little extra damage I just got, and that little ting, that really sharp sound, and how that wound is opened up right here as well. That's because I perfect block while my shield is charged. Having your shield charged when you're perfect blocking, it does damage to the monster as well, and it also hurts them as well. So if you have an impact Phial and the monster's almost at their threshold for getting knocked out, and they hit your shield while your shield is charged, that will knock them out and they will be on the ground. And it's funny, and it's such a moment that will make you pop, because you just knocked them out by just them really hitting your shield. And now let me charge my actual sword really quick so I can show you the other portion of the counter and not hit that backside. But something, if you're running around, just be careful. You will actually do a sliding slash. If you're running around, you press B, or the fade slash. It's great to reposition it. That's great to reposition with. But if you're not trying to reposition, yeah, it's kind of weird. It might throw you out of position, so be careful on doing that. So I got punched. Come on, hit me. And then you can also counter with a SAED. As long as your Phial's charged, you can counter with a SAED. But if you are almost out of Savage Action mode and you don't have any wounds to pop at all, to do a wound finisher, always go for a perfect block, just to get your Savage Axe mode back. That's how it's a lot easier to get Savage Axe mode in multiplayer if you don't have a wound to pop. But the whole thing is, you have to have that monster's attention or be in a position to where that attack will hit you as well, so you can perfect block it and get your Savage Axe mode back. And especially when you have wounds to pop, because the runner that you with takes all your wounds, or the friends with you that you're with accidentally take one of the wounds that you was aiming for, because they probably don't know that Charge Blade really needs a wound to activate its Savage Axe mode. But outside of that, that's really it when it comes to perfect blocking. You have two counters. Now, if you don't want to counter right away, well, at all, just perfect block and just let the animation die down after the perfect block, because you don't want to get stuck into a commitment animation, because you can get knocked out of your SAED, and depending on how far down you are with the action, it can still expend your files without you actually using your files, so you can't get punished for that. And like I said, Savage Admiral is a really huge commitment. As you can tell, it's an extremely huge commitment in that move in itself. Now let me show you the difference between well, you already will see, you've been seeing me in action without having artillery and magazine on. So let me show you the difference with magazine and artillery. And let me switch my weapons. So this weapon also has rapid morph on it, and this is what I mean by it's a lot faster. Like, it's a lot faster. So that's a really good, it's mainly good for just mainly you morphing. You only have 2 morph attacks. This is a morph attack, this is a morph attack. That's all you have for charge blade. That's it. You only got 2 morph attacks, and that's it. Just morphing between axe mode and sword mode. Now, see, now I have yellow gauge. That's why load shells is, in my opinion, mandatory for charge blade. Everything else you can do whatever you want to do, and magazine is a 2-slot skill, so you can just throw that into the 2-slot and call it a day. You don't have to throw into a 3-slot, because again, still it's only a 2-level skill and not a 3-level skill. So throwing it in a 3-level slot, and if it's a bit more points thrown in a 3-level slot, because you just don't really need it there at all. So you can throw anything else that actually has a 3-level skill or higher in that level 3 slot. Now let me continue to. Okay, now I'm fully charged. Now charge my shield, go back over here, recharge my sword again, recharge my sword again, and then bam, I am charged up. Jesus, I forgot to mention, so to charge your shield, you just hold RT. If you want to, you can hold RT or /R2 and press forward. That charges your shield. Well, charges your files. Just charges your files. Or you can just press RT and forward at the same time to save yourself that extra second of having to do that press. Name it a second, like a fraction of a second. I just do that at the same time because it's more of a fluid motion, because you already press certain buttons in tandem with each other already to do certain skills. Or certain skill, well, not certain skills. Yeah, certain skills or the certain combos. You already press those in tandem already. So just press them in tandem. It saves you that extra little time there. But charge again. And as you can see, I got to red gauge and I charged my files completely. So now we're about to see how it looks with artillery, and you'll see what I mean by higher damage. And then boop. See, this is what I don't like. Oh, that's another thing. So the difference between the SAED for impact files and the SAED for elemental files is 2 different types of discharges. The SAED for impact files, it goes in a straight line, while the SAED for elemental files, they go in a diagonal, they go into a tri-pattern. Let me see, it should be a tri-pattern. Well, it's in Rise is a tri-pattern, and this one is a diagonal pattern. So you have 2 lines that go out on either side of the monster, and it does nice damage on both sides, but it's a reduced damage, and depending on what monster you're fighting. Yeah. So let me grab another weapon really fast. Okay. So now we have a weapon that has the impact files on it, so you can see the damage there. So remember earlier that I did round about 47.5 with impact Phial. Even with the well, it's gonna be a little inaccurate number here because I was using a weaker weapon, so, but it'll still be a damage boost no matter what. Okay. You see, I did 98.1. Then when it hit moves, it did like 201. So let me take artillery off really fast, so you can see the actual damage difference. You just remove them. Okay, we're fully charged. And then do initial setup. And it did about, on the lower end, about 75.9. So that was about a 20 damage difference between artillery and no artillery. So I say artillery is not really was not mandatory. Magazine / shell is, but for the extra damage for your Phial attacks, I would say throw it up in there just to get that extra damage there, because it is a jump in damage there between from 75 to 90. That's a jump. Do it again. Actually, better yet, so I won't expend my Phials completely. Depending on where you're like 98.1, 100. So it's still varying depending on where it hits the monster, depending on the hit zones it's hitting the monster on. It kind of ignores hit zones. Not even kind of. It does ignore hit zones depending on where it hit the monster at in general, but it does ignore hit zones. It's kind of like Gunless in that aspect there, where it ignores hit zones with the explosion damage. But that's really it about what the skills and everything. Now it's on to guard points. So I was mentioning earlier, guard points. Guard points are basically points of where the monster hits you. Let me see if I can even get a guard point timing with this training dummy. But there are certain moments where at the end of a combo you get a guard point, or if you do a certain animation you get a guard point. So morphing gives you a guard point. This initial morph into X mode gives you a guard point. The finishing animation of going back into sword mode gives you a guard point. So see, that was a guard point there, guard point here, and you can tell there's a guard point because your shield will glow white. So you also have your shield elemental boost. That is a guard point at the finishing animation. Doing your elemental round slash is also a guard point at the end of the animation there. It's the same as like kind of like morphing back into sword mode. And then after doing your basic 2 combo, at the end of that last round slash, at the end of that animation there, you have a guard point there. So there's different moments in time where you do have guard points, and this makes you commit on some of your attacks. Don't be like me. I do this and I won't commit on my final attack. I forget to commit on my final attack. That gives you a guard point that will protect you from getting damage, and if your shield is charged, it will do damage to them, and then you can also counter off of that guard point as well. If you have the Phials, if your shield is charged and you have Phials, you can counter off that guard point there. I won't be able to count it here. Back up, I mistimed it. Now the whole thing about guard points is though, you could still, the frames for guard points are not that long at all. You have, I think it's about no more than 6 frames, I believe. It's no more than 6 frames really. It's not that long of a frame animation at all. It's really quick. Once you hit that guard point animation, it's kind of like a hope and prayer that they hit that at that moment in time. unless you just know like, okay, this is going to hit me once I get done doing this combo here. Guard points are not that easy to get. That's the main, that's what makes Charge Blade harder in that sense. If you are aiming for guard points, if you are actively aiming for guard points and everything and have a guard points evolve around, it will evolve in your gameplay. That makes Charge Blade a lot harder to use, because it's more or less you learning that monster more than you learning that monster more, and you know the times of when you need to do that actual combo, so they can hit you at the end of that combo and you get that guard point from that. But that's really it about Charge Blade. Ain't really much more to go over about Charge Blade. We basically covered everything, going from your files, your combos, you charging everything up, your different modes that you have, what skills you can use for the Charge Blade. So y'all will see me in a hunt against Ray Dow. if you like this, if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. If you want to see any more guides, please say no on guides, because I only know so many weapons that good. I only know so many weapons. But if you want to see more guides, I will try to learn the weapon more, give a detailed, comprehensive guide about what I've learned with the weapon and everything, of me using it in hunts and all that, what I've noticed with skills, what I've noticed with the weapons and certain animations, what Capcom has added with weapons and everything. I will try my best to do that video. I will try my best. But other than that, that's it, and I will see y'all on the next video. Bye.